Hi, and welcome to the Harvest Valley, a rather short section of Dark Souls 2, mainly filled with rocks and poisonous gas. Visually, this area isn't pleasant to the eye at all. It's a barren valley with nothing beautiful about it. The enemies are brown and greyish, and most of them are undead, with the only exception being the desert pyromancers, wearing red clothes and using fire attacks. Outside of them, everything else in this area is visually ugly and unappealing. Which isn't necessarily a bad thing because, well, it's what this place wants to convey. It's barren, it's ugly, there's nothing here, you shouldn't be here. However, I think this is both good and bad for me. Good in the sense that it is what the area wants to convey, so it works as it is because it's exactly what it conveys. But at the same time, when thinking about the Harvest Valley, there's nothing much to remember about it, there's nothing great about it. It's a very forgettable area. And I think the aesthetic could convey this feeling of a desolate, barren place while still being nice to look at. And there are games out there that have bad areas, and when I mean bad areas, I mean that seem bad to live in, that can feel good to go through visually when looking at everything. Here it doesn't look good visually, and it could be good to look at this area while still conveying the idea that it's a barren and desolate place. If you look at Bloodborne, for example, there are areas like this in it. Nightmare's Frontier, there's a poisonous swamp, and the aesthetic is pretty cool. So yeah, for me, it's a bad point for this area. The green fog, the grey rocks everywhere, the undead enemies, all that mixed together is just not good to look at, and all you want is just to go through the area as fast as possible. Now, it's not what you're going to do, because there are so many items scattered around here. You're going to take your time to get them all, and you're also going to get poisoned because of it, which isn't that big of a deal. There are a bunch of enemies in the poison that you can fight and that you can die to also, but it's not that challenging and that threatening here. There's a tiny section at the end right before the Earthen PEAK entrance where there's a whole lot of enemies gathered inside of the poison, and there are a lot of items to get. Here you can die a few times fighting them and trying to get all the items, but it's not that big of a deal. In terms of challenge, apart from the poison area, you have the desert pyromancers, which are threatening, but I don't think it's in a good way, because those enemies have a problem shared by many other enemies in Dark Souls 2: animations. Sometimes they won't be moving at all, and they won't be attacking you at all for no specific reason, and suddenly, sometimes, they're going to summon the freaking sun right in your face, leaving you no time to react and blowing half of your health away. It's kinda ridiculous. Like, you wait for the enemy to attack so you can dodge and retaliate, and the attack never comes, and suddenly when you decide to attack, poof, they summon the sun in your face. Like, that's kinda stupid to see the enemy stand there and do nothing, and suddenly decide to decimate your entire health bar with one attack out of nowhere. Now, after going through this place, you enter the Earthen PEAK, which is really good visually, opposite to the Harvest Valley. I mean, I love the idea behind the place. It's a giant windmill filled with traps and ambush. It's a great idea for a level, even if it has a bunch of flaws, of course, can't be perfect. And the first flaw is like the area where you enter. The floor is a poison pool. If you fall in the poison pool, you fall to your death. Which, like, why? It doesn't make sense. Like, why is there an infinite depths poison pool right at the entrance? It's really weird. And also, visually, you have no way to tell that you can go there. There are places where the floor is covered in liquid poison. I don't know what it is exactly, but it's poison water, basically. And you can walk on it just fine. And right next to it, right there, there's a poison pool that leads you to your death if you walk onto it. Which is all the more frustrating considering there is a little jump you have to perform right above it, and if you fail the jump, you just fall to your death instantly. That is really, really frustrating. Honestly, that wasn't the brightest idea. Traps are good if it's not about platforming, in a Souls game at least, in my view. If you play a game like Mario, I guess it's fine, because it's kind of how the game works, but here, setting a trap room like this, it's just not, it doesn't feel good when you die to it, especially since you have to rerun through the entire area until you reach this place. Then we reach the Covetous Demon. This thing is not a bad idea. Theoretically, yeah, a big demon, big fat demon that is all about eating. You know, it's gluttonous, but the execution is terrible. What is this? So first we have Magnus and Congregation, and now we have this. What's the point of making a boss if the fight is absolute trash? Because this thing is just a big punching ball. It doesn't move, doesn't react at all. Like, yeah, it's going to try to attack you, but it's so slow, and like you can touch everything very easily. You can just beat this thing to death with a stick, and you're not going to get hit a single time. It's a giant demon enemy. Make it do something. The freaking desert pyromancers are more threatening than this thing. It's just ridiculous to make this a boss fight. At least make it somewhat good or challenging. If a Dark Souls 2 remake happens one day, they need to make this guy tough. Because right here, it's this is nothing. There's actually another place in the game where you fight this guy. It's in the Ice DLC in Elom Lois, the Burnt Ivory King area. There's a frozen version of this enemy, but it's not alone. There are other enemies around it, which makes it more threatening. And I think Dark Souls 2 lacks balance in this area, is that there are a lot of good encounters with many enemies, but there are very few good encounters with only one enemy. And I'm speaking about bosses in general in Dark Souls 2. There are not that many great boss fights that are just a single enemy against you. Like, until this point, the Pursuer was good, Freya was good, but Freya is a boss fight with a lot of ads, with a lot of tiny spiders. And outside of them, like, the Flexile Sentry is okay, the Lost Sinner is okay, but it's not great, you know? And here we have a single encounter boss fight, and it's just bad, which is sad. They really need to make this thing better, because right now it's just, like, what's the point of playing a game if there's no challenge at all? I guess for some people it's going to be okay, but if you play a Souls game, this is not okay. They need to change this. Now, how do you actually make this thing challenging? Well, you can make it faster, you can make it move around more, or you can just simply give it a ton of health, but I fear that might make the boss fight too long and boring and tedious. To make this fight good, you actually have to make it so that you need to react to every attack performed by the boss. If the boss doesn't attack and all you have to do is sidewalk for like 2-3 steps before keeping on smacking that thing, what's the point? An attack needs to be threatening, which isn't the case here. Once you defeat the boss, you get access to the Earthen PEAK, the rest of the area, and we will talk about this in the next video. Don't hesitate to leave your thoughts in the comments, and I'll see you around. Bye!
Bruh.